Hey, good morning. Welcome to the fourth hour. It's great to have you along, Steve. Steve, you crack me up. He's already asking before the stream even starts. The new Elite Dangerous Power Play 2.0 update has been good. Do you still play? No, I haven't played in a while. And one of the issues with Elite Dangerous, it really takes some concentration and some planning and what you do versus a typical, regular video game where you can just sit down and you kind of start playing and away you go. Elite Dangerous, I thought was more than that. I like it. I like the game. Um, and one of the other issues I have is my eyesight. The print on that game is really quite small. And so I wind up sitting close to the television in order to just be able to read what's on there. These are the downfalls of an aging gamer. But anyway, I've got news that I want to share with you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. Let's see where to start. Let's start with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. They are meeting. Actually, they're at Capitol Hill this morning, so they're no longer expected. They're there. I watched the video of Ramaswamy going up just as I was getting off the air this morning. So they are at Capitol Hill this morning talking with the Republicans to discuss ways to reduce waste in the federal government. And there's a little bit of reporting here from Fox News, and so I want to share this. And they touch on this, what I just mentioned, as well as Senator Joni Ernst. She had a lengthy post on X mentioning things that could be cut, and Peter Ducey goes through them in this video. So I want you to watch this. We won't share the whole thing. This is Peter Ducey on Fox News.
Executive branch orders, presidential EOs, can be reversed by the next administration. We've got 2 years of a relatively friendly Congress to the Trump administration.
Yep.
So I am hopeful that both Elon and Vivek will make the inroads into the U.S. Congress that they need to actually to do what you said, to accomplish the cuts sustainably.
There, so starting the cut.
Joni Ernst on X, a few posts from a long thread. One, ghost workers. We're spending $15.7 billion a year on underutilized buildings.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Bureaucrats refuse to show up to work, so why are we paying for empty buildings?
Great question.
To this, bad pennies. Currently, the federal government is paying 3 cents to produce a penny and 11 cents to make a nickel. That makes no sense. Only Washington could lose money making money. Changing the composition of coins would save $50 million a year.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. Only Washington could lose money making money. Absolutely right. So this is going to be a big story today with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, I think. And I'll have more on the Greg Belfrage show for you tomorrow once we hear what they. So they will attend the first Senate Doge caucus meeting this morning, and which will be chaired by Senator Joni Ernst. Later, they will go to the other side of the Capitol, bicameral event hosted by House Speaker Mike Johnson. Get a load of this. And he said, looking forward to this to discuss reform ideas to achieve regulatory reductions, cost savings. Man, we don't hear many those are terms that you and I are just not used to hearing, I think, on very frequently. I'm so excited about Doge and what they're going to do. So Fox going on, they're wasting no time laying out their vision for slashing government bloat through Doge. They penned an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal last month. And I did see that, talked about that on the air, actually, at the time. A lot of this is rehashing stuff that we have already seen. So that's a really big, Denise, you're right, yeah. Getting old is hard on the eyes. And my eyes are not great anyway, my left eye in particular. I've got keratoconus in my left eye. So the pupil of my eye is bulging rather than being, it should be have a little bit of a cone shape, but mine is bulging, and I have got it. That's next. Now that I have gotten a clean bill of health in regard to the stroke, and they don't want to see me for another 2 years, the next thing I've got to do is I'd like to replace the cornea in my left eye. I think it's time for that. So that's Katie and I have talked about it. So that's next on my personal hit list. Okay, let's see what else. The let's start. No, I want to start with this one because this is from the Washington Examiner talking about Pete Hegseth and saying Donald Trump needs to stand his ground on defending Hegseth or he'll lose other nominees. So that Hegseth is the beginning. And they say it's hardly been smooth sailing. It's turned into a circus of media smears that evokes memories of the confirmation of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah, doesn't it, though? Absolutely does. The press have gleefully published anonymous stories of even the email from his mom, which she has apologized to him for that email. In fact, she was on Fox and Friends yesterday talking about it and really her disdain for the legacy media and publishing that story. New York Times, of course, is where that came from. So the cost of withdrawing Hegseth's nomination is to validate this trial by media smears 6 years after the Senate repudiated the smear campaign against Kavanaugh. Yeah, I think we've got to see the same thing. Exactly as we witnessed with Brett Kavanaugh, Republicans standing strong. Will they be able to do the same thing here? There is another piece this morning indicating that, in fact, that may be the case. This is Breitbart news. Pete Hegseth shoring up support from key Republican senators as the smear campaign falters. So let's see what the details here. Senator Thune met with Hegseth yesterday. And Thune said, I think he articulates a good vision, a strong vision for the Department of Defense, which I think is in need of some modernization and reform. He's obviously an experienced veteran, combat veteran, so he brings a lot of experience about the warfighters' needs are and how to keep America ready for the potential battles of the future. So that was coming from Senator John Thune. Others, Roger Wicker, this is Senator Roger Wicker of Louisiana, tells me his meeting with Pete Hegseth went very well. I don't see any obstacles that can't be overcome. So there's more and more you're hearing this. Lindsey Graham now signaling he's open to supporting him. And I had this comment on the air for you this morning. Lindsey Graham saying, I'm not going to make any decision based on an anonymous source. If you're not willing to raise your hand under oath, it doesn't count. Lindsey Graham says. So more and more, and Pete Hegseth, read for yourself. You'll see the truth is on our side. The trustee of the Veterans Advocacy Group, where Pete Hegseth served as president, denied in 2016 that he was forced out of the position due to drinking and other misconduct. So what we're seeing here is it appears the lies are falling apart against Pete Hegseth. So the lies are beginning to fall apart when you get senators like Lindsey Graham who are finding their spine. I think that's a good sign. So definitely moving in the right direction in that regard. So that continues to be a big story. There's some other stories, and we've got one more political story. I want to share the political story, and then I've got some lighter stuff that I'll share with you this morning. This is from Axios, behind the curtain. Biden's haunting twin sins. So what is it? Top Democrats tell Axios they're so furious about Biden's abrupt, clumsy pardon of his son Hunter that they're threatening to withhold donations from his future presidential library. If I think that might be more like a bookmobile. I'm not sure. But they said if they had their crap together, they would have been doing the work on this over the summer, right after he announced he was stepping aside. Now it's just too late. Hopefully they are right-sizing their expectations and budget. So Biden will limp away from the limelight, widely disliked by the public and now loathed by many Democrats who blame him for twin sins of selfishness, running again, then pardoning Hunter after repeatedly saying he wouldn't. Now, again, I think Democrats are learning what many of us have always known. I mean, it's not a surprise to me. I always believed that Joe Biden was going to pardon Hunter Biden. Never believed him from the get-go. So Democrats now finally faced with the truth, and now they want to get tough. Where in the hell were they? Where were they when it was time to get tough? When Democrats needed to raise their voices to President Joe Biden and say, enough is enough, where were they? They were nowhere. They were happy to carry on his lies, and now they're shocked. I find myself at a loss for words all the time. I mean, it's so crazy. You've got to be able to, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't matter. You just can't lose the ability to call crap when you see it, whether it's coming from Democrats, Republicans, or otherwise. And that's a big, big problem within the Democratic Party. And now we're going to withhold money for the presidential library. Big deal. Where were you? Where were you when it mattered? When you needed to stand up and be counted, where were you? You were nowhere. You were, repeating the lies, and we knew this was coming. It's just absolutely breathtaking to me. I find myself at a bit of a loss trying to, David, you're right. Yeah. Biden has many boxes of classified documents for his library. Yeah, absolutely right. Sean, excuse me. Sean's not a big fan of Lindsey Graham, as you can see here. Puts his finger in the wind to see where he should be. Yeah, as I agree. There are times when I listen to Lindsey Graham and he's right on. And I'm like, okay, go. And you've heard me say that on the air. I find myself supporting, Lindsey Graham. And then there are other times, Sean, like this, where you just go, finally, where have you been? That is so incredibly frustrating to me. And it's, that's who he is. I mean, I'm not faulting him for being who he is, but you just kind of get used to a lot of this. Oh, Steve was asking, I wonder how many classified documents will be on display in the Biden library, or will it just be discarded partial baggies of cocaine? Yeah. That's a great point, Steve. All right, there were a couple of other stories that I want to share here with you this morning as well. And this is, now let's get at outside of politics on this, I think. Let me just make sure. Yeah, these stories are outside of politics. So let's start with this. Canada has unveiled the first ever image of the UFO downed during a joint U.S.-Canada mission in February. This is February now of last year. The grainy photo shows a circular white object shot by a U.S. Air Force F-22 fighter jet. And this is a big deal. It's getting a lot of reaction from folks on X. This has gone viral. You may have seen this over the course of the last few days. So the balloon, what it is a balloon, and that dark spot you're seeing is then likely a basket underneath. So this would be a photo taken from below the balloon showing that basket underneath. That's what, so forget the talks of a UFO. This is, there's a story on this. I want to make sure I get the right one. Sometimes I have to open tabs to be able to get to stories, and then I get confused here. This is the one. Former military official reveals what the U.S. Air Force really shot down during this encounter over Alaska. And there you see again the photo, and then Prometheus. Somebody posted on X. And once they got close, they could tell it was a balloon similar to the Chinese spy craft shot down. And this guy says that what you're seeing, you would see that if it was three-dimensional, you would see that it's a balloon. The apparent dark regions that give it the Pac-Man shape were caused by its package. So again, these balloons are always carrying a package, whether it's spy equipment or weather equipment or what it might be. So any one of a number of things that it could be. But that dark shape underneath is the package and the shadow of the package. That's what makes it look like Pac-Man. And folks on X are just having a heyday going after that. Also, there is one other story I wanted to share with you this morning. And I saw this, it's trending this morning. This is an airline that's apologizing for an in-flight Family Guy episode with the scene from Tiananmen Square. And so, first of all, what is any airline doing showing Family Guy? I mean, seriously. So they have apologized for airing this Family Guy episode following a complaint that it could violate Hong Kong's national security laws. So the scene references the Tiananmen Square massacre, shows Peter Griffin standing beside a protester in front of Chinese tanks, mirroring the Tank Man image. So now they've removed the episode. That story is actually trending this morning. They've removed the Family Guy episode. And again, I just saw Family Guy. Why would you be showing Family Guy episodes? And I used to love Family Guy. I loved Family Guy right up until the point I stopped watching it, because I used to watch it all the time. And it's got very much a liberal bent to it, but I know the folks who are associated with it, and that's not a surprise in their work. But I thought it was funny. I absolutely thought Family Guy was funny, and I watched it over and over again. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Isn't that wild when you have those streaks, you're on something and you really kind of enjoy it and you're watching it, and then you just decide, okay, I'm done. That's how I am with Family Guy. So Steve's saying he never got into it. I thought it was funny. The just the look and humor and the parody of this it's a little bit like Married with Children. That you have this incredibly dysfunctional family, and you think, How is it that this family stays together? Same thing on Family Guy. It's like, these people are nuts, man. I used to enjoy it quite a little bit, but I haven't watched it now in years. It's been years since I've watched Family Guy. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for being here. And I understand where you're coming from, Steve. Me too. I have so many series on Prime that I watched half of the episodes and then just stopped and moved on to the next series to not finish it. Great point. Because you get to that point where you're like, you're really not enjoying it, right? You're really not enjoying it. And so you ask yourself the question, but you've also invested like all this time. So I'm halfway through and now I hate it. And so do you just say, okay, I'm done, cut my losses, I'll move on to something else? Or do you stick with it and watch the rest of it? Totally understand. And Steve is a fan of Farscape, like I'm a fan of Star Trek. You know, I can watch Star Trek literally dozens of times, and there are new things that I have new takeaways often based on where I'm at in life, because I'm not at the same place that I was, when I was a kid and really loved Star Trek. Or even 20 years ago. I'm just not in the same place. And I think as you rewatch some shows, sometimes there's humor that you miss on one pass through, and then on another pass through, the humor jumps right out at you, So it depends on where you're at. So I think it is possible to watch some of these shows repeated number of times and come away with things that you missed or just didn't notice, previously. But they're like, as I was saying with Family Guy, I just got to a point with that. I just felt burned out. It's like, okay, yeah, that's good. I've been there. I know what Family Guy's about. I'm done. But why an airline would be showing Family Guy? It's beyond me, especially when there's, Star Trek is out there. Thanks so much, my friend, for letting me join you. If you would hit that like button before you leave today. And I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you for being here. Appreciate your comments, and hope to see you here again tomorrow. So you take care, my friends. Until then, so long. Have a great